Absolutely. So, we've been very blessed. We've had the same crew for 13 years. And so everybody I work with was very close to Frank. And there's not a day that goes by that we don't think of him and talk about him, or what he would have done or what he would have enjoyed. I've known Frank since I was in 8th grade, and we're very close to each other. He was the godfather.
For more than 10 years, American Pickers was one of the most watched TV shows in America. It had a simple format. Two men, Mike Wolfe and Frank Fritz, traveled around the country looking for old and rare items. They would stop at barns, garages, and junkyards, trying to find treasures buried in dust. Millions of people watched every episode. Many fans loved the chemistry between Mike and Frank. They were close friends on screen and off screen. They made people laugh and taught them about history in a fun way. But the truth behind this partnership turned out to be darker than anyone expected. Frank Fritz had a stroke in July 2022. He was taken to a hospital and spent months in recovery. At first, everyone believed his condition was a result of his health problems. He had heart issues and a difficult medical history. Doctors mentioned that he had cerebral vascular disease and primary stenosis. These conditions made his blood circulation weak. People thought the stroke was natural, but then a shocking discovery changed everything. Inside Frank's house, investigators found an empty pill bottle. It was not just any bottle, it had Mike Wolfe's fingerprints on it. This seemed odd because Mike was not supposed to be handling Frank's medication, and even more strange, Frank's medical records showed he was not prescribed fentanyl. But a toxicology report showed an unusually high amount of fentanyl in Frank's system. It was many times higher than any safe limit, especially for someone with Frank's health problems. Why was fentanyl in his body if it wasn't prescribed? And why were Mike's fingerprints on the bottle? Soon, investigators started to look closer at Mike Wolfe. They checked his phone and found messages between him and Frank. Some of them were full of tension. But what shocked detectives even more was Mike's internet search history. He had searched for how to cause a stroke and poisons that looked like natural death. These searches happened just days before Frank was found unresponsive. This evidence made investigators suspicious. They believed Mike may have tried to make Frank's death look like a stroke using fentanyl to cause it. 3 hours before the emergency call was made, Mike's car was seen arriving at Frank's home. This was confirmed by neighborhood security cameras. It was very late at night. Nobody else was around, and then 3 hours later, Mike himself called 911. He told the operator that he had just found Frank lying motionless. At first, his voice sounded full of panic. He told them he was worried and needed help right away, and when the police and medics arrived, they saw Mike crying. He appeared to be a devastated friend. But after Frank was declared dead, something didn't feel right. Mike's behavior suddenly changed. He stopped crying and became strangely calm. He began explaining things too quickly and too clearly, as if he was trying to guide the story. Detectives started to suspect that the 911 call was part of a plan. They believed Mike wanted to control the situation and make himself look innocent from the beginning. Frank's death was not just a tragedy for his fans, it became a national scandal. Mike Wolfe had always been seen as a calm, friendly guy, but now people began to see a different side of him. As more evidence came out, prosecutors built a case that Mike had planned everything. They said he was jealous and angry. Some people believe he wanted full control of the show. Others believe money played a role. Not long before Frank's stroke, there had been fights between him and Mike about the future of American Pickers. Frank wanted more say in the direction of the show. He felt like Mike was taking too much credit. Their friendship had become tense. Mike had more influence, more fans, and more money. Frank, on the other hand, had been left out. After Frank's stroke, many people on social media raised money to help with his medical bills. Over $1 million was collected, but when investigators traced the money, they found something shocking. Much of it had been transferred to accounts connected to Mike Wolfe. This discovery changed everything. Now, Mike was not just a suspect in a possible murder, he was also accused of stealing from his former friend. He was charged with fraud, theft, and financial abuse. The courtroom was packed on the day of his trial. Hundreds of fans stood outside holding signs. People were mad, many were still in disbelief. Inside the courtroom, Mike stayed quiet. He didn't cry, he didn't even say sorry. He simply bowed his head as the judge gave him a life sentence without parole. This wasn't the first time that someone on TV had faced a scandal, but this one felt more personal for fans. Mike and Frank had been a part of people's homes for years. They were like friends to the viewers. The show had brought joy to millions, but now it was linked to betrayal, greed, and possibly even murder. Investigators said the crime had been carefully planned. Mike used his knowledge of Frank's health to choose a method that would seem natural. He knew about Frank's past stroke and heart issues, so he used fentanyl, a drug that can cause similar symptoms. He made it look like another stroke had taken Frank's life, and the empty pill bottle, the fingerprints, the internet searches, and the financial trial were all part of the evidence. Even after all this, some fans still found it hard to believe. They remembered the Mike Wolfe who smiled on TV, who laughed with Frank while picking through old barns, but the truth couldn't be ignored. The crime scene, the timeline, and the data all pointed to him. He had turned a true friendship into something dark and dangerous. Danielle Colby, the only woman on the original American Pickers team, later gave a statement. She said she was heartbroken. She said the show had once been about love for history and friendship, and in the end, what shocked us most wasn't just the crime, it was the betrayal. Two men who once called each other brothers had ended up like this. One in recovery, the others behind bars. American Pickers will never be the same. The story that once brought joy has now become a cautionary tale. Mike Wolfe is now serving life in prison. He will never appear on American Pickers again. But his name will always be tied to the show, not for its success, but for its tragedy. Frank Fritz, once the smiling face of the series, will always be remembered by fans as the heart of the show. What he loved most was finding value in things others had forgotten. Sadly, in the end, the person he trusted the most forgot the value of friendship. And that's all we have for today's episode. But YouTube thinks that you're going to enjoy this next video even more, so might as well check it out.